Beach County is offering first-time home buyers up to $100,000. The funds can help pay for down payments or closing costs, but is limited to low-income households. CBS 12's Victoria DeCardenas joins us live to explain while the dollar amount could help pay for a new home, it may be hard to come by. Victoria.
Yeah, Palm Beach County has had grants like the Home Investment Program for several years. However, finding a home that fits the needs of the family without breaking the bank are hard to come by.
It's not cheap to buy a home in Palm Beach County.
It isn't.
Palm Beach County is extending a helping hand to first-time home buyers. A federal grant will give 50 families up to $100,000 to purchase their first homes. The program's guidelines are based on income and household size. For someone living alone, their income cannot exceed $55,000. For a six-person household, it can't go over $90,000. According to Jenkins-Gaskin with Palm Beach County Housing and Economic Development, the grant can help purchase a home valued up to $550,000.
We have to make sure that they fall within the right ratios in order to afford the property that they're looking at.
However, mortgage broker with JR Funding Benjamin Bieber says a family would need to make nearly $150,000 a year to pay for a $350,000 home. And how possible is that here in Palm Beach County?
For a single-family home, I do not see very many around at that price point. However, condominiums, townhomes, there are absolutely some options available.
Condos and townhomes can be purchased with this grant. However, county officials say only about half of the applicants make it to the point where they can actually buy a home because of the strict guidelines.
We would like to see more affordable homes in order to help more individuals.
Now, to see if you qualify for this Palm Beach County Home Investment Program, you can head to our website, cbs12.com, and look for the story. There it will have all the requirements and when the application opens.
Well, today marks 2 weeks since Idalia hit the Big Bend region of Florida as a Category 3 hurricane.
And the storm flooded streets and buildings, snapped trees, cut power, and it's responsible for at least 4 deaths, according to medical examiners.
And last week, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office deployed 40 deputies to Taylor County, where Idalia made landfall, to aid in those cleanup efforts. We're told the PBSO deputies focused on 3 main areas: Perry, Keaton Beach, and Steinhatchee.
Our Danny Travis joins us live in studio now with how they say deployment went. Danny?
Yes, Matt Samuel, you may remember 2 weeks ago when I was in the Big Bend region covering the storm extensively, from preparations beforehand as the storm hit to how local communities were affected after the fact. But after I left is when PBSO came in. Long 12-hour shifts began, but worth it to help those communities in need. Those PBSO deputies are part of the department's Emergency Field Force, or EFF, who are specifically trained in both civil unrest and search and rescue. When the sheriff's office does deployments like this, those are the members sent. Though their role in Taylor County was more road patrol support as opposed to search and rescue. And on top of patrolling roads, PBSO officials say their team's presence helped deter a lot of looting that had been going on prior to them getting there. PBSO Captain Joel Rossi says the Taylor County Sheriff's Office is only about a 30-deputy department and were overwhelmed by the effects of the storm. He says one of the biggest advantages of PBSO deploying up there was to give the Taylor County deputies a much-needed break. Rossi says in times of crisis, they have to help each other out.
It's amazing to see the community come together after a tragedy like this. It's not to be a cliche. I mean, it restores your faith in humanity, and to be a part of that, it fills your cup back up. And I consider myself and my team very fortunate that we were able to help out with the community, with our law enforcement brothers and sisters, to get them back on their feet.
Captain Rossi says their team was what they call a self-contained unit, meaning they bring their own shelter units, food and supplies, and even restroom facilities. He says self-contained units are often requested after disasters like this, as there are limited resources and they don't have to rely on anyone else for that. Captain Rossi says by last Saturday night, almost all the power was restored. The vast majority of roadways were cleared. Students were going back to school, and as he said it was time to go home. Now, in total, the PBSO team was there for 6 days last week.
COVID-19 cases are back on the rise.
And with so many new strains, it's hard to keep track of what is here in our area and what those strains bring in terms of symptoms and risk to our health. This comes as the Centers for Disease Control is recommending everyone 6 months and older get an updated COVID vaccine, which targets the new variant. The FDA approved the updated vaccine from Pfizer and Moderna today. The updated COVID shots will be free for most through private insurance. The shots will be available later this week. CBS 12's Lena Salzbank joins us in West Palm Beach, where she spoke with an infectious disease specialist.
For the first time since January, Florida health officials are reporting major spikes in positive COVID cases.
We are seeing as an increase in number of people diagnosed with COVID when they come to the emergency room. Up to 1/3 of them are being diagnosed with COVID.
CDC data shows that right now, Florida is seeing a higher number of patients admitted to its hospitals than any other state across the country. This comes as the State Department of Health reported nearly a 30% uptick in positive cases. That's a 7% increase from last week. Experts like Dr. Klepper de Almeida say there are 3 new strains to be aware of, but the dominant strain to keep an eye on is the EG.5 variant.
It's similar to Omicron. So it would be, if you think you have a cold, that cold could be COVID. We are not capable of separating who has COVID versus who has the common cold.
The virus has been spiking steadily over the last few weeks, with weekly COVID hospitalizations going from 951 on July 1st to over 2,000 the week ending on August 26th.
What we see is this progressive rise since June 23rd. We see there's a hope that this is leveling off.
Doctors say that despite the increase in cases here in Florida, the case count is not predicted to burden hospital staff or reach critical levels like we saw in years past.
We are not seeing the infection being more lethal than Omicron, for example.
And while the CDC suggests ramping up testing and wearing a mask if you're immune compromised, Florida legislation makes it illegal to require anyone wear a mask unless they work in the healthcare industry.
At this point, it's debatable whether it would be helpful.
In fact, according to studies like one done by Cochrane, wearing a mask in the community had little to no effect on how many people caught flu-like symptoms when assessing the effects of medical or surgical masks. A new COVID-19 booster shot could be available as early as this week, and while it is not specific to these new variants, experts say it is meant to target the descendant variants of Omicron.